The great crystal towers of Nexus Prime reached high into the purple sky. Inside the biggest tower, hundreds of alien beings gathered for the most important meeting in the galaxy. The Galactic Council met here once every year to make decisions that affected billions of worlds. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the massive doors of the council chamber. Her simple gray uniform looked plain next to the bright robes and glowing energy suits worn by the other delegates. She was the only human in a room full of creatures that thought they were better than her species. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in circles that went up to the ceiling. Each seat held a different alien species. The Zephyrians floated like transparent ghosts, their bodies made of living wind. The Kraleks looked like giant insects with too many arms and clicking mouths. The Ethereals were ancient beings of pure energy who spoke directly into minds instead of using words. Elena reached the human section, which was just one small podium near the back. She set down her datapad and looked around the room. Many of the aliens were already staring at her, and she could hear them whispering to each other in dozens of different languages. The meeting began when Chancellor Vextar stood up. He was from the Hegemony, one of the most powerful groups in the galaxy. His species had 6 arms and skin that changed colors when they got angry. Right now, his skin was a calm blue, but Elena knew that would change soon. "Today we hear from the human delegation," Vextar announced. His voice was loud and filled the chamber. "They wish to speak about trade routes in the Outer Rim." Elena stepped forward and activated her hologram projector. A map of the galaxy appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the dangerous regions beyond the safe core worlds. Red dots marked areas where pirates attacked ships. Yellow zones showed places with deadly space storms. Orange areas were filled with asteroids and other dangers. "Honored delegates," Elena began, "humanity asks for permission to open new trade routes through the Outer Rim sectors. These areas have valuable resources that could benefit all our species." The Zephyrian High Counselor started laughing first. The sound was like wind chimes in a storm, high and musical, but somehow mocking. "The humans want to play with void pirates and gravity storms? How amusing!" More laughter filled the chamber. The Kraleks delegate made clicking sounds that Elena knew meant he was laughing too. The Ethereals sent waves of amused thoughts that made everyone feel like they were hearing a funny joke. "Your species has been flying in space for less than 300 years, said Chancellor Vextar. His skin was turning orange now, which meant he was getting annoyed. "We have been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. We know those areas are too dangerous and not worth the effort. What makes you think your primitive ships could do what our advanced fleets cannot?" Elena tried to stay calm, but she could feel her face getting hot. "Humans have always found ways to solve difficult problems. We believe we can make these routes safe and profitable for everyone." A new voice spoke up from the upper levels. It belonged to Counselor Thexara from the Trade Federation. "Humans and their wild dreams," she said in a voice like grinding metal. "You have been in space for such a short time. You know nothing about the real dangers out there. The Void Pirates have ships that can tear apart anything we send against them," added another delegate. "The gravity storms can crush a battleship like an empty can. The asteroid fields are like mazes that go on forever. How do you plan to deal with all of that?" Elena pulled up more data on her hologram. "We have studied these problems carefully. Human ships are smaller and faster than yours. We can avoid dangers that would destroy bigger fleets. Our computer systems can calculate safe paths through the storms." The laughter got louder. Even the serious Ethereals were projecting waves of amusement now. "Small ships?" Vextar's skin turned red. "You want to send tiny human vessels into areas where our massive battleships have failed? This is not bravery. This is stupidity. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, the humans will understand why we do not waste time in those regions," said the Zephyrian counselor. "When they have gained more experience, They might learn to make better choices. Elena felt her hands shake, but she kept her voice steady. We ask only for the chance to try. If we fail, we will accept responsibility. If we succeed, the benefits will be shared with all council members. The answer is no, Vextar declared. The council will not waste resources helping humans chase impossible dreams. This proposal is rejected. A vote was called, but Elena already knew the result. Every single delegate voted against the human proposal. The hologram showing the Outer Rim trade routes disappeared, and Elena was left standing alone at her podium. As the meeting ended, Elena heard more conversations around her. The aliens were not trying to hide their words anymore. Humans always think they are special, one delegate said to another. They do not understand how the galaxy really works. Give them a few more centuries, replied another. Maybe they will learn their place eventually. Such a young species, added a third voice. They have no idea what real space travel requires. Elena packed up her datapad and left the chamber. She walked through the crystal corridors of the tower without looking at any of the aliens she passed. Some of them were still talking about the meeting, still laughing about humanity's foolish proposal. Back in her room at the human embassy, Elena sat down at her desk and opened a secure communication channel to Earth. She typed a short message. Council position confirmed. Initiate Protocol 7. She sent the message and then sat back in her chair. Outside her window, the alien city sparkled with lights and flying vehicles. Tomorrow, she thought, things would be very different. Elena had not told the council everything about human plans. She had not mentioned the real reason humanity wanted access to the Outer Rim. The aliens thought they were so much smarter than humans, but they had just made a very big mistake. Soon they would understand that humans were not the primitive species they believed them to be. But by then, it would be too late for the aliens to do anything about it. The sun rose over Nexus Prime like it did every day, casting rainbow light through the crystal buildings. But something was wrong this morning. The security guards at the spaceport noticed it first. Docking Bay 47 was empty. Yesterday, it had held the human diplomatic ship called New Geneva. The ship was supposed to stay for 3 more days, while the council meetings continued. But now there was nothing there except the faint glow that engines leave behind when they have been fired recently. Security Chief Colton walked around the empty docking bay, checking his scanner. No alarms went off, he told his assistant. No distress signals. No emergency messages. The humans just left. His assistant, a young Kralex named Ziptar, clicked his mandibles nervously. Maybe they were angry about yesterday's vote. Humans have strong emotions, right? Colton shook his head. Angry species make noise when they leave. They slam doors and send angry messages. This is different. This is like they planned it. The security chief tried to contact the human embassy in the city. No one answered. He sent a team to check the building. They found all the rooms empty and clean. The humans had taken everything with them. They had even erased the computer systems before they left. By midday, reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The Galactic Communications Center received hundreds of messages from different star systems. All of them said the same thing. Human ships had disappeared during the night. Director Plutonus sat in his office at the Galactic Trade Commission, staring at his holographic displays. Every screen showed the same message, ship not found. Yesterday, there had been nearly 3,000 human merchant ships doing business throughout the galaxy. Today, there were none. This cannot be right, Plutonus said to his aide, a floating ethereal named Mindsinger. Entire fleets do not just disappear. Check the systems again. Mindsinger's energy form flickered as it accessed the computers. The data is correct, Director. Every human-registered vessel has vanished from our tracking systems. No emergency beacons, no distress calls, no destruction signatures. They simply are not there anymore. Plutonus had worked in galactic trade for 500 years. He had seen wars, pirate attacks, and natural disasters. But he had never seen anything like this. When ships were destroyed, there was always evidence. When ships were captured, there were always some that escaped to report what happened. When ships retreated, they left messages explaining why. This was different. This was like someone had reached out and erased every human ship from the galaxy at exactly the same time. "Pull up the shipping records," Plutonus ordered. "I want to see where these ships were going and what they were carrying." The data appeared on his screens. Most of the human ships had been carrying normal trade goods, food, manufactured items, raw materials. But Plutonus noticed something strange. Many of the ships had been traveling toward the outer rim sectors, the same dangerous areas that the humans had asked about in yesterday's council meeting. "Mindsinger, when did these ships begin moving toward the outer rim?" "Checking. The pattern began approximately 6 months ago, Director. Human vessels have been gradually increasing their presence in outer rim sectors." Plutonus felt a cold feeling in his stomach. 6 months ago was when humanity had first submitted their proposal to the Council, the proposal that everyone had laughed at yesterday. More reports came in throughout the day. The human colony on Kepler 7 had gone silent. The mining stations in the asteroid belt had stopped responding to communication attempts. Even the human embassy on the central world of Centauri Prime was empty. But the strangest reports came from the outer rim monitoring stations. These were automatic beacons that watched for pirate activity and dangerous space phenomena. Several of them had stopped working during the night. Captain Rexula of the Galactic Security Force was sent to investigate. He took his patrol ship to the last known location of Monitor Station Gamma 7. The station was still there, floating in space exactly where it should be. But when Rexula's team boarded it, they found something disturbing. "Captain," his technical officer reported, "the station is undamaged, but all the data cores have been wiped clean. Someone erased 6 months of tracking data." "What about the security recordings?" "Also erased, sir. Very professionally done. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Rexula checked 5 more monitoring stations in the area. All of them had been cleaned out in the same way. The stations themselves were fine, but all their records were gone. It was like someone had carefully removed every trace of human activity in the region. Back on Nexus Prime, Chancellor Vextar called an emergency meeting with the other council leaders. They gathered in a private chamber away from the main council hall. "What do we know?" Vextar asked. Councillor Thexara answered first. "Every human ship in the galaxy has disappeared. Our intelligence services cannot locate them. Even our most advanced scanning systems show nothing." "This is impossible," said the Zephyrian High Counselor. "You cannot hide 3,000 ships. Space is too big, but it is not infinite. They must be somewhere." The ethereal representative, Elder Thoughtkeeper, projected a wave of concern. "The humans have stopped all communication with us. Their embassy staff have vanished. Their trade representatives have canceled all meetings. It is as if they never existed." Vextar's skin turned a worried purple color. "Could this be some kind of military operation? Are they preparing to attack us?" "With what?" Thexara's metal voice crackled with confusion. "Their entire fleet is gone. You cannot attack anyone if you have no ships." "Unless," the Zephyrian said slowly, "they have more ships than we knew about." The room went quiet. The council members had always assumed they knew everything about human military capabilities. Earth was supposed to be a small, weak planet with limited resources. But what if they had been wrong? Elder Thoughtkeeper sent another wave of thought. "We should contact Earth directly. Demand an explanation." Vextar tried to open a communication channel to Earth. The channel connected, but no one answered. The human government was maintaining complete radio silence. "This is not random," Vexitar said finally. "Yesterday we rejected their proposal. Last night they disappeared. This is connected. But how? Vexara demanded. We watched their ships. We tracked their movements. How did they coordinate something this large without us knowing? No one had an answer. On Earth, in a hidden command center deep underground, Admiral Sarah Chen watched displays showing the positions of every human ship in the galaxy. All 3,000 vessels were exactly where they were supposed to be, hidden in the dark spaces between stars. Phase 1 complete, she reported to the other officers in the room. The Council thinks we have retreated. Now we begin Phase 2. Admiral Chen smiled as she looked at the star charts. The aliens thought humans were primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 3 weeks after the humans disappeared, the galaxy received a message that nobody expected. It came from the Bloodfang Corsairs, the most feared pirate group in the Outer Rim. The message was short and desperate. We surrender. We surrender to anyone who will listen. Please, get us out of here. Captain Zareth of the Galactic Security Force ship Righteous Purpose could not believe what he was hearing. The Bloodfang Corsairs had terrorized the space lanes for over a century. Their biomechanical ships and void-born crews had destroyed hundreds of merchant vessels. They had never surrendered to anyone, ever. Sir, his communication officer said, I am receiving similar messages from 12 other pirate groups in the Outer Rim. They are all asking for immediate rescue. Zareth stared at the messages appearing on his screen. The Iron Skulls, the Nebula Reapers, the Void Hunters, every major pirate organization in the galaxy was sending the same desperate plea for help. Sensor Officer Koran, Zareth called, scan the Kepler Void region. I want to know what scared the pirates so badly. Koran's 4 eyes went wide as she read her displays. Captain, I am detecting massive debris fields throughout the sector, hundreds of destroyed ships. The energy signatures match known pirate vessel designs. Set course for the Kepler Void. Maximum speed. The Righteous Purpose jumped to hyperspace, along with 5 other Security Force ships. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found something that would give Zareth nightmares for years. The Kepler Void looked like a graveyard. Hundreds of pirate ships floated dead in space, their hulls dark and lifeless. But these ships had not been destroyed by normal weapons. There were no blast holes from energy cannons, no burn marks from plasma weapons, no signs of the explosive damage that usually came from space battles. Instead, each ship showed very precise surgical damage. Their weapon systems had been carefully disabled. Their engines had been shut down in exactly the right way to prevent them from exploding. Their computer systems had been completely emptied, but their life support systems were still working. Captain, Koran reported, I am detecting life signs on many of these vessels. The crews are alive but trapped on their own ships. Zareth ordered rescue teams to board the pirate vessels. What they found was even more disturbing than the ship damage. The pirate crews were huddled in their emergency shelters, terrified and broken. These were beings who had spent their entire lives fighting and killing, but now they shook like frightened children. Captain Vexara of the notorious pirate ship Bone Reaper was brought to the Righteous Purpose for questioning. She was a Kralex female with cybernetic implants covering half her body. The implants were sparking and smoking, as if something had fried them from the inside. What happened here? Zareth asked. Vexara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme fear in her species. Ghost ships, she whispered. They came out of nowhere. Ships that moved like shadows through space. We could not see them on our scanners until they were right next to us. Describe these ships. Small, dark, quiet. Not like the big battleships that other species use. These ships were built for hunting, not for fighting fair battles. They slipped through our defenses like they knew exactly where our weak spots were. Zareth exchanged glances with his security chief. How many ships attacked you? That is the terrifying part, Vexara said. We think it was only 20 or 30 ships. They destroyed over 400 pirate vessels in 6 days. 6 days. We have been raiding these sectors for decades, and we know every hiding spot, every safe route, every escape path, but these ghost ships found us everywhere we went. What weapons did they use? Vexara's implants sparked again, and she winced. They did not use weapons against us. They used our own weapons against ourselves. They got into our computer systems and turned our ships into traps. Our own guns started firing at our own engines. Our life support systems began shutting down room by room. Our navigation computers sent us into asteroid fields. The security chief leaned forward. How is that possible? Pirate ships have the best security systems in the galaxy. They knew our codes, Vexara said, her voice barely above a whisper. They knew our frequencies, our encryption methods, our hidden command protocols. It was like they had been studying us for months. They knew our ships better than we did. Zareth felt a chill run down his spine. Did you see the crews of these ghost ships? No, we never got a clear look at them. But we picked up some of their communications on the emergency frequencies. They were speaking standard Galactic, but with an accent we had never heard before, and they kept referring to us as targets for pacification. Pacification? They did not try to kill us, Captain. That is what made it so terrifying. Every pirate ship they disabled, they left the crew alive with enough supplies to last for weeks. They could have destroyed us all, but they chose not to. This was not a battle. This was pest control. Zareth questioned a dozen other pirate captains, and they all told the same story. Small, fast ships that appeared without warning. Technology that could take over any computer system. Crews that fought with surgical precision and never made mistakes. But the most disturbing detail came from Captain Draktor of the Void Hunters. His ship had managed to get a partial scan of one of the attacking vessels before his systems were compromised. The energy signature, Draktor said, his multiple arms shaking. I had seen it before, in the intelligence reports we steal from merchant ships. Those were human vessels. The rescue operation took 3 days. The security force ships found nearly 2,000 surviving pirates floating in disabled vessels throughout the sector. All of them told the same story about ghost ships that struck without warning and disappeared just as quickly. Back at Security Force headquarters, Admiral Korthak studied the reports with growing unease. The Admiral was an old soldier who had fought in a dozen wars, but he had never seen anything like this. 25 ships, he said to his staff. 25 human ships defeated the entire pirate confederation of the Outer Rim in less than a week. Sir, his intelligence officer said, there is more. We have received reports of similar activities in the frontier sectors and the wild zones. Every major criminal organization in those areas has been pacified. How many human ships are involved in total? Unknown, sir. Our scouts report sighting human vessels in 17 different sectors, but the ships disappear before we can get detailed scans. They appear to be using some kind of advanced stealth technology. Admiral Korthak walked to the star map on his office wall. Red pins marked the locations where pirate groups had been destroyed. The pattern covered nearly a quarter of the galaxy. Get me a direct communication with the Galactic Council, he ordered. They need to know what is happening out here. But when the communication was established, Chancellor Vextar had disturbing news of his own. Admiral, Vextar said, we have been monitoring the situation, but there is something else you should know. 3 days ago, we detected human ships in the corporate sectors. The Hegemony Corporation and the Nexus Syndicate have both stopped their private wars and are requesting emergency security force protection. Protection from what? From humans, Admiral. It seems that humanity's pacification campaign has moved beyond just pirates. Admiral Korthak felt the galaxy shifting around him. For 3 weeks, everyone had wondered where the human fleet had gone. Now they knew. The humans had not retreated. They had gone hunting, and they were very, very good at it. The news about the pirates had barely reached the core worlds when something even more shocking happened. The corporate wars that had raged for decades suddenly stopped. Not slowed down, not reduced, they ended completely overnight. For 40 years, the Hegemony Corporation and the Nexus Syndicate had fought each other across dozens of star systems. Their private armies had destroyed entire planets in their struggle for control of mining rights and trade routes. Their economic warfare had caused famines on worlds that depended on their supply chains. Neither the Galactic Council nor the Security Force had been able to stop them because both corporations were too powerful and too wealthy. Then, in a single night, both organizations simply gave up. CEO Malthorian of the Hegemony Corporation was in his private office on the corporate world of Prophet Prime when his secure communication system activated itself. He had not turned it on. The system was supposed to be impossible to hack, protected by the most advanced encryption in the galaxy. A message appeared on his screen. You have 72 hours to end all hostile activities against the Nexus Syndicate and comply with galactic laws regarding corporate warfare. Failure to comply will result in the release of certain information. Attached to the message were files that made Malthorian's blood run cold. Decades of carefully hidden records, evidence of slave trading operations, proof of illegal weapons development, documentation of genocide contracts where the corporation had paid to have entire species wiped out. Records of political assassinations and bribery that reached to the highest levels of galactic government. All of it copied from the corporation's most secure data vaults. All of it prepared for immediate broadcast to every news network in the galaxy. At the bottom of the message was a simple signature: humanity. 3,000 light-years away, Director Vashati of the Nexus Syndicate received an identical message at exactly the same time. She stared at her screen in horror as she saw her own organization's darkest secrets laid out in perfect detail. Slave markets, illegal drug operations, the murder of union leaders, the bombing of hospitals on worlds that refused to pay protection money. Vashati tried to trace the source of the hack, but her computer experts found nothing. The intrusion had been perfect, leaving no traces behind. Whoever had done this had walked through the Syndicate's security systems like they did not exist. Both corporate leaders made the same decision. Within hours, they broadcast messages to all their military commanders: cease all hostile operations immediately, stand down all private fleets, end all economic warfare activities. The corporate soldiers were confused but followed orders. For the first time in decades, the shooting stopped in the frontier wars. Trade blockades were lifted. Private armies returned to their bases. The most destructive conflict in recent galactic history ended not with a peace treaty, but with 2 desperate surrender messages. But the humans were not finished. Over the following week, similar messages appeared on the computer systems of dozens of other criminal organizations. The Black Market Consortium found their files copied and prepared for release. The Slave Traders Guild discovered that their secret client lists had been downloaded. The Arms Dealers Union learned that their illegal weapons sales records were ready to be broadcast across the galaxy. All of them received the same ultimatum: comply with galactic law within 72 hours or face exposure. Intelligence analyst Kexivore of the Galactic Security Force studied the pattern of attacks from his office on Central Command Station. He was a Zephyrian, and his people were known for their ability to see connections that others missed. The humans are not just attacking randomly, he reported to his superior. They are targeting specific types of criminals: slave traders, illegal arms dealers, corrupt politicians, corporate warlords. They are cleaning up the galaxy's criminal underground. How are they getting this information? Asked Admiral Korthak. That is what disturbs me, sir. The security systems they have penetrated should have been impossible to crack. Some of these organizations have encryption that took our best experts years to break. The humans did it in hours. Kexivore pulled up a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked locations where human ships had been spotted. Blue dots showed criminal organizations that had been shut down. Look at this pattern, sir. The humans are not just hacking these systems from a distance. They are physically present in these sectors. Their ships are working together in a coordinated campaign across half the galaxy. How many ships are we talking about? Unknown, sir. Our best estimate is that humanity has deployed at least 500 vessels for this operation, but they could have twice that many. Their stealth technology is far better than anything we have seen before. Admiral Korthak studied the display with growing concern. 500 ships is not a large fleet by galactic standards. How are they accomplishing so much with so few resources? That is the key question, sir. Traditional military thinking says you need overwhelming force to control large areas of space. But the humans are not using traditional methods. They are not trying to occupy territory or destroy enemy fleets. They are targeting the command and control systems that criminal organizations depend on. The Admiral leaned back in his chair. Explain. Take the Hegemony Corporation, sir. They have thousands of ships and millions of employees. But all of those ships and people depend on computer systems to coordinate their activities. The humans did not attack the ships or the people. They attacked the computers. Once they controlled the information systems, they controlled everything else. And the pirates? Same principle, sir. Pirates depend on secrecy and mobility. They need to communicate with each other to coordinate attacks. They need navigation computers to find targets and escape routes. The humans turn those advantages into weaknesses. A new report appeared on the Admiral's desk. It was from the Outer Rim Commercial Authority, an organization that managed trade in the dangerous frontier regions. Sir, Kexvor said, reading the report, this is interesting. The Commercial Authority reports a 300% increase in safe shipping through the Outer Rim sectors. The trade routes that were considered too dangerous for normal commerce are now busier than the core world shipping lanes. Why? Because there are no more pirates to attack the merchants, sir, and the human ships are providing escort services for any vessel that pays their modest fees. Admiral Korthak felt a cold realization settling in his mind. They are not just cleaning up the criminals. They are taking over the business that the criminals used to control. Exactly, sir. Every pirate organization they have destroyed, every criminal syndicate they have shut down, humans are moving into those markets and doing the same business legally and more efficiently. The Admiral stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the space traffic around Central Command Station. How long have they been planning this? Based on the coordination and scope of the operation, sir, I estimate they have been preparing for at least 2 years. Possibly longer. 2 years. They were planning this long before they made their proposal to the Council. Yes, sir. The proposal was not a request for permission, it was a warning. They were telling us what they intended to do, whether we approved or not. A communication alert sounded on the Admiral's desk. It was an emergency message from Chancellor Vextar on Nexus Prime. Admiral, Vextar's image appeared in the hologram. We need to talk. The humans have sent a formal diplomatic message to the Council. They are requesting a new meeting to discuss the current situation in the galaxy. What are they saying? They claim that they have successfully established security in the Outer Rim sectors and are now ready to discuss formal trade agreements with interested parties. They are acting like they have done us all a favor by destroying the criminal organizations. Admiral Korthak almost laughed. They have done us a favor, Chancellor. The pirates and corporate armies have been problems we could not solve for decades. The humans solved them in a few weeks. But at what cost? Vextar's image flickered with agitation. They have demonstrated that our most advanced security systems are worthless against their technology. They have shown that they can penetrate any organization and steal any information they want. How do we know they will stop with the criminals? The Admiral had no answer for that question. But as he looked at the reports of peaceful trade flowing through previously dangerous sectors, he wondered if that was the right question to ask. Maybe the right question was, What would the galaxy look like if humanity decided to do more than just clean up criminals? 6 months after the humans had disappeared from the galaxy, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. This time, the council chamber on Nexus Prime felt very different. Many of the delegates who had laughed at humanity's proposal were no longer there. Some had been arrested when their criminal activities were exposed. Others had resigned in shame when their corruption became public knowledge. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the same doors she had entered 6 months ago, but now the atmosphere was completely changed. Instead of mocking whispers, there was tense silence. Instead of dismissive glances, there were looks of nervous respect and barely hidden fear. Elena took her place at the human podium, which had been moved to a much more prominent position near the front of the chamber. She looked around at the assembled delegates and smiled slightly. The room that had once been filled with hundreds of representatives now held less than half that number. "Honored delegates," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 6 months ago, you questioned whether humanity was ready to operate in the galaxy's more challenging regions. You wondered if our technology and methods could succeed where your advanced civilizations had failed. She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the outer rim sectors. The map was filled with green lines indicating safe trade routes, blue dots marking secure waypoints, and steady streams of merchant traffic flowing between previously isolated worlds. As you can see, we have answered your question quite thoroughly. Chancellor Vextar, whose skin was showing nervous color shifts, leaned forward in his seat. Ambassador Vasquez, the Council demands an explanation. How did humanity accomplish what appears to be impossible? Our intelligence reports indicate you deployed no massive fleets, no superweapons, no overwhelming military force. Yet you achieved in months what we could not accomplish in centuries. Elena's smile widened. The answer is quite simple, Chancellor. You assumed that we would try to copy your methods. Massive fleets, overwhelming firepower, brute force solutions to complex problems. But humanity has always preferred to work smarter rather than harder. The holographic display changed to show the composition of humanity's fleet. Instead of the enormous battleships and carriers favored by other species, the human vessels were small, sleek, and built for speed and stealth. Each ship bristled with communication arrays and sensor equipment rather than heavy weapons. We did not defeat the pirate fleets through superior firepower, Elena explained. We defeated them through superior information. Every ship we encountered, every system we infiltrated, every criminal organization we dismantled became another source of intelligence about how the galaxy's underworld actually operates. Elder Thoughtkeeper of the Ethereals projected a wave of confused inquiry. Elena nodded acknowledgement. You are wondering why we disappeared so completely before beginning our operations. The answer is strategic. We knew that the galaxy was watching us, expecting us to fail. So we gave you exactly what you expected to see, a young species retreating in embarrassment after being humiliated by their betters. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Meanwhile, our real fleet was busy making contact with all the people your civilizations had written off as irrelevant. Pirates, smugglers, refugees, independent traders, mining crews, colony farmers, everyone who lived and worked in the spaces between your controlled territories. The display showed a new map, this one revealing the true scope of human operations. Thousands of small settlements, mining stations, and trading posts scattered throughout the galaxy's frontier regions. Most of the council members had never known these places existed. We offered these people something that your governments never could: partnership instead of domination. We did not demand tribute or taxes. We did not impose our laws or customs. We simply offered fair trade, mutual protection, and respect for their independence. Counselor Thexara's metal voice crackled with disbelief. You formed alliances with criminals and outcasts? We formed alliances with people, Elena corrected. many of whom had been forced into criminal activities by the economic policies of your civilizations. When legitimate trade routes are controlled by corrupt corporations charging impossible fees, people turn to smuggling. When colonial governments impose crushing taxes, people become pirates. When legal jobs pay starvation wages, people join criminal organizations. She gestured to the holographic display, which now showed cargo volumes and trade statistics. We gave these people legitimate alternatives: better pay, safer working conditions, fair treatment under law. Most of them were eager to give up criminal activities once they had better options. The Zephyrian High Counselor's form shimmered with agitation. And those who were not eager to give up their criminal ways? Elena's expression grew colder. We dealt with them appropriately, but we found that most criminal leaders were actually quite reasonable when presented with overwhelming evidence of their illegal activities and offered a choice between prosecution and early retirement. Chancellor Vextar's skin had turned a deep purple with anxiety. The scope of this operation. How long have you been planning it? Humanity began serious planning for galactic expansion approximately 3 years ago, Elena replied. We spent 2 years conducting detailed intelligence gathering and establishing preliminary contacts throughout the frontier regions. The proposal we made to this council 6 months ago was not a request for permission. It was a courtesy notification of what we intended to do, whether you approved or not. The chamber erupted in agitated whispers and telepathic exchanges. Elena raised her hand for silence. The galaxy is much larger than your council territories, honored delegates. While you have been focused on administering what you already control, we have been developing relationships with the 90% of inhabited space that you consider worthless or too difficult to manage. The display shifted again, showing resource extraction data from the Outer Rim regions. The numbers were staggering. Mineral wealth, energy sources, and rare materials worth more than the entire gross domestic product of the core worlds. These resources are now flowing through human-secured trade networks to any species willing to deal with us fairly and honestly. Our new partners in the frontier regions are becoming quite prosperous. She deactivated the display and faced the assembly directly. Humanity formally requests recognition as a major galactic power, with appropriate representation in council decisions. We also invite any interested parties to negotiate new trade agreements under our expanded network protocols. The silence stretched for long moments before Chancellor Vextar found his voice. And if the council refuses these requests? Elena's expression remained perfectly neutral, but somehow her presence seemed to fill the entire chamber. Then you will continue to enjoy your traditional trade routes and established markets, while humanity and our new partners develop the galaxy's true potential. Your choice, honored delegates: partnership or irrelevance. As she turned to leave, she added casually, "Oh, and I should mention that our security fleet is currently stationed throughout this system. They arrived yesterday to ensure the safety of these diplomatic negotiations. I am sure you understand the importance of proper security arrangements." Panic spread through the chamber as delegates frantically checked their sensor displays. Their instruments detected nothing, but Elena's confident statement left no doubt that human ships were present. "How many vessels?" Vextar asked desperately. Elena paused at the chamber entrance. "Enough, Chancellor. More than enough." She walked out, leaving behind a council that finally understood the new reality of galactic politics. 3 hours later, the council voted unanimously to recognize humanity as a major galactic power and to begin immediate negotiations for new trade agreements. The age of human expansion had begun, not through conquest or intimidation, but through the patient application of superior strategy, advanced technology, and the revolutionary concept of turning potential enemies into willing allies. Outside the council chamber, Elena looked up at the stars visible through Nexus Prime's crystal dome. Somewhere out there, Thousands of human ships were quietly going about their business, protecting trade routes, establishing new colonies, and building the foundation of humanity's galactic civilization. The other species had spent millennia fighting over territory and resources. Humanity had chosen a different path. They built networks, created partnerships, and turned the galaxy's forgotten corners into thriving centers of commerce and cooperation. Dawn had broken over the galaxy, and it would never be the same again.